We got another crash out, man.
I'm so tired of it. It just makes no sense to me, and I'm tired that we keep giving it so much energy.
This is crazy, man. We have to revisit a crash out.
And I'm tired of it being people who are not in this circle or space at all who suddenly have all these opinions about how these women need to treat Caitlin Clark.
You are right. You are right, new fans.
What do you want from them? They want to beat her because she's not on their team.
Talked about that earlier in our pod today. You actually were quoted somewhere saying this is the first time you have zero fear around the league folding.
Isn't that how it's supposed to be? Y'all stop it. We already know she's transformational. They've all said it. How many times do they gotta say?
The Elle Duncan made one of the WNBA's most outrageous remarks on ESPN. Geared directly at Caitlin Clark and the surge of new admirers who have been following her for years. She asserted that the league was being ruined by these new supporters, depleting it rather than assisting or expanding it. After a few months, the situation has significantly changed. The number of viewers is declining. The league is facing severe labor unrest. Even Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo is now criticizing media figures and athletes for turning away rather than embracing fans. People are noting that Duncan's remarks have suddenly aged horribly. This is the actual question. Do celebrities like Elle Duncan, Caitlin Clark, and her followers need to apologize for the manner they were discussed during the previous season? Because this may be one of the most awkward media moments of the WNBA season. And it's coming back to haunt all those involved.
Turning against you. They see all the things the WNBA been doing, like giving y'all housing, paying for y'all babies, giving y'all cars, all types of stuff. Y'all are losing the people. Rebecca Lobo sets the record straight.
Elle Duncan's remarks weren't merely incorrect. They have no connection to reality at all. Because of how far off the clip was, fans are still watching it months later. You must return to that time in order to comprehend why. This was the height of Caitlin Clark's mayhem. The WNBA was receiving more attention than it has in the past. Not only was it a successful year, but the levels of curiosity were unprecedented. All throughout the nation, games were selling out. TV viewership was skyrocketing. Instead than burying women's basketball at the bottom of broadcasts, major sports networks were now placing it in prime portions. The league had been requesting this for decades. In the midst of that, Duncan appeared on ESPN and claimed that the WNBA was being negatively impacted by the new fans.
You are right. You are right, new fans. There has never been more viewership because of Caitlin Clark. There's never been more attention. They're doing 40 minutes on First Take about Caitlin Clark. They never did that before.
Hey, and you know what? And you know what they're not doing now, Elle Duncan? They're not doing 40 minutes on the WNBA when Caitlin Clark wasn't playing. They weren't doing 40 minutes on Colin Cowherd when Caitlin Clark was hurt and wasn't playing. They're not doing 40 minutes on Unrivaled on Nick Wright. First things first. They're not doing 40 minutes on Unrivaled with all these other stars y'all claim. Everybody's a star. The Paige Beckers, the big stars. Why ain't First Take talking about them?
She said that. Let's take a moment to slow that down. The WNBA has been in trouble for more than 20 years prior to Caitlin Clark's arrival. Inadequate coverage, vacant seats, and steady losses. The NBA was a major factor in the league's survival. That served as the starting point. After Clark is drafted, the Fever becomes a must-watch on television. Ratings increase. Everywhere they play, arenas are packed. At last, networks discuss WNBA games as if they were important. Merch begins to move quickly. The league's entire business strategy begins to change. And for some reason, Elle Duncan saw the increase and concluded it was a negative thing in the midst of all that energy. The issue is new fans. The league is losing its vitality due to new fans. When your sport is finally taking off, that could be one of the worst self-destructive actions you can do. The fact that Elle Duncan wasn't the only one who held this opinion exacerbates the situation. A wave of WNBA players, media personalities, and ardent supporters appeared to be genuinely annoyed by the league's unexpected rise in popularity. They resisted the spotlight rather than embracing it. New supporters were chastised for their ignorance of decades of league history. People were angry at Caitlin Clark because she was the reason they were finally paying attention. Because success wasn't happening on their terms, it became a challenge in and of itself. Someone pushed back during that ESPN interview, pointing out that big shows were now airing lengthy portions on women's basketball and that viewership had never been better because to Caitlin Clark. Duncan dismissed it with a wave. She handled the attention as if it were poisonous, as if there were strings attached, and as if development were somehow risky. What she and others failed to notice is the true nature of sports media. What people want to watch is covered by networks. Prior to Caitlin Clark, First Take didn't spend much time on the WNBA because there wasn't a sufficient audience. That isn't prejudice or contempt. It's business. Content that doesn't attract viewers isn't given prime programming by any network. The attention inevitably followed after Clark arrived and WNBA games began to draw sizable crowds. Sports coverage has traditionally operated in this manner. Because so many people watch football, it dominates coverage. Due to its larger following, the NBA receives more attention than leagues in other countries. When the WNBA finally entered that cycle, several voices attempted to stop it rather than welcome it. It was never difficult to comprehend this circumstance. The unwillingness to acknowledge the true nature of celebrity power was what made it messy. The constant coverage of Caitlin Clark was viewed by Elle Duncan and others as a form of injustice, as though attention was being taken rather than earned. They opposed the fundamental reason why exposure appeared, even if they desired it for the league. The reality is straightforward. The distribution of popularity is not uniform. It tracks players, incidents, and names that captivate audiences. That was done by Clark. The league profited from it, but certain voices were unhappy with its source rather than embracing the momentum. They desired progress without a face, but sports have never operated that way. There was also a lot of discussion about how the WNBA had compelling storylines prior to Clark's arrival. Great basketball, passion, and competition were mentioned. On the court, all of it might have been true, but the audience was always the missing component. The figures would have demonstrated that those tales were successful on a national scale. They didn't. Prior to Clark, there were no regular sellouts, long-form arguments on big shows, or steady media buzz. It's not offensive. It is simply the league's actual position. Attention is not guaranteed by talent alone. It does through connection. Now consider the direction that things are going. There is a lot of labor strain in the league. There is a possibility of a lockout. Fans who were enthusiastic about women's basketball last year are slowly withdrawing, and new projects related to the sport are having difficulty keeping viewers interested. Tone is a major factor. When they feel blamed or unwanted, they leave. Rebecca Lobo's intervention is crucial because of this. She's not looking for clicks. Even this Hall of Famer, who has a long history in the sport, is cautioning that the public support is waning and that the messaging has gone too far. When someone with that kind of credibility says the league needs to start over, it's clear that the previous season's mindset was flawed. Additionally, Rebecca Lobo made a very clear statement that many people did not want to hear. This is not some lowball offer that is currently being explored. It is a powerful one by any standard. The highest wages are exceeding $1 million. Salary that average about $500,000. Revenue sharing, genuine facility, and long-term infrastructure investment. This is a significant financial advancement for the league as compared to previous agreements. That expansion wasn't an accident. It occurred as a result of the eventual rise in interest. At last, money arrived. However, other players quickly described the offer as a slap in the face rather than presenting it as a step forward. Fans who were already attempting to show support took offense at that kind of language. Lobo explicitly cautioned that tone is important, particularly in public conversations.
About that earlier in our pod today, you actually were quoted somewhere saying this is the first time you have zero fear around the league folding, right? Which I totally know what you mean. It's like in other negotiations, there was always not like it was actually going to fold, but it was like, hey, we got to figure this out. How are we going to do this kind of a vibe? All right. So from your perspective, what should be like the high priorities for this agreement?
It's been interesting to kind of see how it has all evolved. And one of the things that strikes me is like the deal that, as you read it, that the owners have on the table for the players. And, I'm not privy to all of the information, but like, it looks like a pretty amazing deal. And that, like, if the players took the deal that's on the table right now, they should feel great about it, because it's huge salaries. It is a degree of revenue sharing. It's going to allow the owners to continue to invest in the product. I mean, having a practice facility, having all the things that Sue and you played and I played all those years without. Like, my New York Liberty team practiced at the...
She's not incorrect. When athletes generate more money than the average person throughout a season, describe such figures as offensive in 10 years. It causes a gap. When regular fans hear it, they feel excluded. They no longer find the conflict to be relatable. And it is quite difficult to regain that support once it wanes. Lobo also mentioned the All-Star weekend when players donned "Pay us what you owe us" shirts. The initial outpouring of support was amazing. Supporters were enthusiastic. The message arrived, but everything fell apart when the All-Star game really began. It was a poor effort. There was no energy. What started out as a showcase ended up being a complete catastrophe. At that point, public opinion began to change. Fans started to wonder why they were being asked to support athletes who didn't seem to care about the occasion. Things only got worse from there. In Las Vegas, Commissioner Kathy Engelbert was continuously jeered. It was clear that there was tension in the building. That incident took place prior to Nafisa Collier's remarks that heightened the matter. It all comes down to the same problem. Fans don't remain around when they feel ignored, and messaging and effort are important. It was evident that the league's attitude had changed by the end of the season. Contracts and salary were no longer the only issues. Many fans were discouraged by the manner they were addressed and handled. Because of this, Rebecca Lobo's observation that public opinion is shifting away from players and toward ownership is quite significant. In sports labor disputes, that kind of change hardly ever occurs. However, this circumstance is distinct. Many fans didn't feel valued. They felt guilty. They believed that expressing interest came with requirements and examinations. Many individuals just cease supporting the players' stand after learning for months that they contributed to the issue. When support is continuously questioned or ridiculed, it cannot last. The obvious connection to the mindset that was evident earlier in the season is what makes this even more remarkable. The notion that rather than being welcomed, new admirers should be watched. The annoyance directed at Caitlin Clark for serving as a gateway for a large number of viewers. The belief that if attention did not arrive in the proper manner, it was suspect in and of itself. Many people's first meaningful interaction with the WNBA came during the previous season. Because Clark made the games seem like must-watches, they tuned in. They purchased tickets. They trailed groups. They bought equipment. They were prepared to advance alongside the league. Rather, they were made to feel unwanted. They were questioned about their curiosity. Their motivations were examined. People become weary of that over time. Fans leave places where they don't feel welcome. That's how you get to a situation where the public suddenly supports ownership more than the players. Fans no longer identify with the voices representing the league, not because they adore management. Rebuilding that link when it breaks is the most difficult task of all. Fans eventually reach a breaking point. When people are made to feel unwelcome, denigrated, or like a problem, they cease to appear. This is precisely what has taken place. And it is reflected in the stats. Public opinion has rapidly changed, viewership has decreased, and enthusiasm has subsided. This cannot be disregarded due of the unparalleled league. In order to maintain momentum, it was marketed as a daring new off-season showcase for WNBA stars. Rather, the ratings have had a terrible time. In some windows, national broadcasts on major networks have had startlingly low ratings. Those figures raise severe concerns for a product with that amount of exposure. The explanation is straightforward. A significant section of the public that joined women's basketball because of Caitlin Clark has no reason to watch because she is not involved. This does not imply that other players are less valuable or skilled. It indicates that they are currently unable to move the needle independently. That distinction is important. Sports have always been fueled by star power. It controls what people watch, what is said, and how much money is spent. Right now, Clark has that pull. The majority of players don't. It is not disrespectful to say that aloud. It is recognizing the true nature of professional sports. A few players were framed unmatched as a business management lesson, but the outcomes point to the reverse. It is hardly a success story if broadcast partners are doubting the deal's worth due to low engagement. It serves as a warning. Communication is another problem. Too many performers continue to come in front of microphones without knowing how their remarks are received. They erode goodwill rather than fostering it. Here, Lobo's viewpoint is crucial. She has discussed performing in small, underfunded venues early in her career. The context is important. The league is in a very different place now. There are now greater facilities, higher salaries, and support networks than there were in the past. The structure now includes long-term investment, child care choices, improved transport, and housing help. Many fans' perceptions of the situation changed after learning about these details during labor debates. The exploitation story stopped being consistent with reality. In contrast to the league's actual earnings, the level of support provided to players is unprecedented in previous generations. The messaging was undermined by that distance. Additionally, fans do not rally after trust is lost. They take a step back. The league is currently dealing with that reality. Selling the indignation gets more difficult when people look at the numbers being addressed. Owners are discussing actual revenue sharing, seven-figure maximum contracts, and long-term financial obligations for a league that still has trouble making a profit. In light of this, labeling the offer offensive does not have the same impact as some players believe. That response is linked to a more general mindset that has silently caused significant harm. The annoyance with new supporters, the criticism of Caitlin Clark for taking center stage, and the refusal to acknowledge the reasons behind the league's eventual success. Elle Duncan's remarks were not unexpected. They represented a way of thinking that viewed development as a challenge rather than an opportunity. Everyone engaged is now experiencing the effects of that mindset. This is particularly annoying because it was all needless. There was momentum in the league. Huge numbers of new admirers were arriving. At last, there was consistent media coverage. The WNBA would be in a far better position now if players and media personalities had embraced Clark's influence, accepted the spotlight, and leaned into that moment. Rather, the league is facing labor unrest and declining popular support. Once excited fans now feel disengaged. Due to the lack of protection, the energy that was present throughout the previous season has diminished. The way things transpired is bitterly ironic. The absence of new admirers, who were deemed a threat, is now felt everywhere. Rebecca Lobo has taken the lead in advocating for improved communication and a greater understanding of how messages are received. However, that effort feels less like a reset and more like damage control. Momentum is brittle. It is never certain to return once it has been pushed away. This entire scenario ought to serve as an example of how quickly momentum can vanish. The WNBA was in possession of something genuine. A breakout celebrity with an influx of new admirers. A generation's worth of media attention may have altered the league's future. And that time was handled with mistrust, animosity, and ego rather than being protected. This result was not imposed by anyone. The league did not suddenly lose the support of its supporters. Piece by piece, they were driven away. Informed that they were observing for improper purposes. Informed that their assistance was insignificant. Told that rather than being the answer, they were a part of the issue. They finally paid attention. The league is currently dealing with dwindling interest, unstable labor negotiations, and a credibility issue that did not exist a year ago. The same people who rejected new followers are now seeing the decline in numbers and speculating about what went wrong. They have always had the answer in front of them. Growth doesn't occur on your terms. The audience sets the terms for it to take place. Burning a bridge is the worst thing that can happen to a sport that has finally found a way to become popular. Rebecca Lobo is attempting to change direction by advocating for more intelligent communication and a tone adjustment. However, restoring trust is far more difficult than maintaining it. Fans do not immediately return once they feel unwelcome. They go on. Make sure you are following Courtside Leaks if you want to learn the truth about how this event transpired, the media errors that contributed to it, and what lies ahead for women's basketball. This is where the discussion goes on. Every viewpoint, leak, backstage twist, and moment they refuse to show you are all covered by us. Click like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. Keep checking back with Courtside Leaks, your go-to source for the real story behind WNBA headlines.